That being said, our very talk show that we're about to schedule right now is all about the D2C trends and what is it that we can look at for the year 2023 and beyond. I'm going to quickly go ahead and invite our set of speakers to please come on stage because this particular session will also be spearheaded by none other than Mr. Prahlad Kakkar, the Indian ad film director and marketing guru, also the founder and chief director, Genesis Film Productions. We had his valuable presence with us yesterday. Thank you so much again, Mr. Kakkar, for joining us. All right, so we had his august presence with us yesterday as well, so it's only befitting that I now go ahead and invite our speakers who are part of the session. We have with us Varija Bajaj, founder, Varija Lifestyles, Leila Office and You, Varija Homes. So let's have you, ma'am, on stage. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving ahead, I'd also like to invite Nitesh Patwari, Chief Financial Officer, Bombay Shaving Company, to please come on stage. Our next speaker, Vishal Kapoor, CEO and co-founder, The Nut Lounge. And may I also please invite Shyam Prasad, CEO, Brand Studio Lifestyle Private Limited. All right, D2C, a very interesting trend wherein we have seen how this particular model has been a major disruptor. If you're also a fan of D2C brands and if you've also been consumers, can we have a round of applause? If you've enjoyed the lunch as well, bring that energy back in the air. Thank you so much, and let's welcome our speakers. With that, let me quickly hand it over to Mr. Prahlad Kakkar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. How much time do we have? 30 minutes. Wow, you gave me a concession from yesterday. So how much can be exceeded by? Okay. I have a very interesting panel with me. There are people with dreams, visions, and numbers. Now, on my left is a numbers gentleman who is from finance, who finances or runs the finances of a company that is a shaving company. How many guys in this room actually shave? You don't shave.
I trim.
So what they've done is that they've diversified from beards to trimmers. So they don't want to shave your beard off. They can trim your beard. But then the best part of the trimmer is that the next stage of the trimmer is that they're going to put in ChatGPT into it or an AI function, and you can give it a design and it can design your hair exactly as you want. Now the possibilities are unbelievable. And all of them are hidden. Because it's not just your face that has hair. So close your eyes and think about it. On my right is a young lady who looks young but has been married for 15 years, I heard from her husband, very sorrowfully. But she is a designer of what we call freedom wear. She hasn't called it that yet, but she might. This is the first time I'm actually talking to her about it. So freedom wear are clothes that you wear where you feel that you have no clothes on. Okay, it's basically leisure wear. So leisure wear is flowy, is see-through, is muted colors. You wear on a beach, near the swimming pool, or on a holiday, and you don't feel constricted. You feel free. Now, I've always wondered why only female wear is see-through and not men's wear. And this I want to know from the lady in the room because she will not tell me that. Why can't we design clothes for men that are as see-through as what we imagine what we should design for women, which are relatively see-through. Now you see it, now you don't. Now you see it, now you don't. And that is the most amazing part of gifting. When a guy has to gift a woman in his life something that he really desires, he'll gift her something that is see-through, and now you see it, now you don't. So remember, the value that you have with the guy that you're dating or married to, it depends on the gifting that he does to you. Always remember that. And on my right is a gentleman who has balls. he sells nuts and dry fruit. So, nuts, designer, numbers. The only numbers that appealed to me in my life, and I'm totally blank about numbers, was when I was printed with Bo Derek, and her numbers were 10, which was the points that she got. You remember Bo Derek? Anybody remember Bo Derek? You know, nobody remembers Bo Derek? Bloody look her up, yeah? She got a perfect 10, and she was 36, 24, 36. Those are the only numbers that are worth remembering, to be very honest. And we have now sitting there on my extreme left, another gentleman who's into design and fashion. And fashion. So we have a woman's view on fashion, a man's view on fashion and marketing, a guy here who actually holds the purse strings and lets it out and dribbles them out to see whether he will fund you or not, and a gentleman who has everybody's nuts in his hands. Okay, will you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Vishal. I am the co-founder and the CEO for the Nut Lounge. The Nut Lounge is a specialty store for dry fruits, and I head the e-commerce division for a brand called Natraj. Natraj is India's leading largest dry fruit player in the country.
N-U-T or N-A-T or N-U-T?
It is N-Nut again, N-U-T.
It's Natraj.
Again those nuts.
Natraj. Ah, fantastic. I like it.
Yeah. So we are the largest importer processor of nuts in the country, and
Imagine the largest importer of nuts in the country. What a feast.
I'm sure everybody's imagination is running wild while Prahlad is talking. But this is Varija Bajaj. I've been in the apparel business for now 20 years. Have been doing bridals, and I have these two startup brands, Office and Dew, which is workwear for women. And when I say workwear, our tagline says reinventing workwear for women. So we do a lot of Indianized workwear for women. We do saris, we do fusion wear for women as well. And a lot has changed, and I'll talk about it, in due course. The other brand that we have is Leela. Leela is a party wear fusion brand for both men and women. And we are in the e-commerce space.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, hi, I am Nitesh Patwari. I head the finance for Bombay Shaving Company. So basically we are the company who takes care of the entire hair removal segment for the entire youth, especially for the youth section of 18 to 25. So that's it. We are a brand which is made in India, made for India, and to make the India proud and take the India out to the entire export market as well. Thank you.
Did you know that Indians were particularly hirsute? And that we are probably among the hairiest people this side of the world. We have Sardars, we have Punjabis, we have North Indians, and we have, very hairy people all around. Okay? When I went to Vietnam for the first time, I realized that the Vietnamese don't have any hair on their face. They have one little mole and two hair growing out of it. And they look after it so carefully. And if that hair falls out or breaks by mistake, it's mourning in the house. So can you imagine me in Vietnam, in a shopping mall, being mobbed by a whole lot of young teenage girls who thought I was wearing a false beard. And all of them tried to pull it. And said, Andao. Andao means Indian. And they were all touching my beard to see whether it was real or it was false. I mean, it was a hell of an experience. You guys definitely will not work in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Sir.
Hi, I'm Shyam here. I head a company, CEO of a company called Brandy Studio Lifestyle. We are a house of brands. We have a brand for the menswear called Highlander. And in the women's western wear category is called Tokyo Talkies. In the women's ethnic category, we have a brand called Vishuddh. And there is one more brand called Locomotive, which is for the men's youth wear. And we are like, in terms of the e-commerce and the D2C, I think we are one of the largest company in the country. That's the power of an e-commerce. That this year we are exceeding almost more than 2,000 crores with the 4 brands. So thank you. Just to
Now, what I want you to do is I want you to change places with me and sit next to the lady, because the next conversation is going to be between these two as to what are the problems, the differences,
yeah.
and how is a woman's view different from a man's view in terms of just designing and looking at design. Come. So, over to both of you. We are all listening. So, having said that designs vary from place to place, the fact that the lady designs work for women in this country is a new one. Because when we think of workwear, we think of European workwear. Even though the sari is very formal, and that's the only thing that we have that is formal, everything else is not formal enough for an office top-level meeting, if you have with clients. So how do you see women dressing in the future, because they're going to be running their own businesses? And how do you see that market from your point of view?
If you see in the last 8-10 years, the women's wear market has changed rapidly. Particularly like, right now if you see the women's wear consumer, even the earlier, like the kind of an fashion which used to be there in the metro cities and tier 1 and the tier 2 cities, because of the online penetration, even the tier 3, tier 4 cities, there is a change in the way the people in the smaller cities used to look at the fashion. I'm talking about the women's.
I want you to talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, her. I want you to talk to her. So look at her and talk.
Okay.
He wants us to debate on this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So it's changing very rapidly. For our brand called Tokyo Talkies, which was like a women's western wear brand, the metro cities used to contribute almost 60-70% of the sale. Currently, what we are seeing the trends, like the smaller cities, tier 3 and tier 4 cities, and we make quite an good fashionable stuff on the Tokyo Talkies. It's changing. Now the tier 2 and tier 3 cities started contributing 50-60% of our sale, whereas the metro is now only on the 40%. So I see that there's a big shift happening on the way the consumer is consuming the fashion in the smaller cities. So.
Absolutely. And from the Office and You journey that I've had, a couple of years ago, I was attending a conference like this. And I saw a woman in command who was moderating the session. And she was heading an agency, incidentally, an ad agency, and she was wearing resort wear. And that's where the question came. Is she wearing resort wear because she doesn't know what is the right kind of clothing she should wear on the stage? Or is it that designers like us have not done enough?
No, or is she making a statement?
I don't think that was the case.
If she was moderating, she was making a statement.
So that's when I started researching on clothing for women, and I realized that there were a couple of international brands. Of course, there's Marks and Spencer's, there is H&M, there is Zara that have their rendition of what workwear should be. But the question was what workwear should be for Indian women. There was not a single brand when I started. And when I say what workwear should be, I belong to North. What would a woman wear to a Chandni Chowk, or let's say, here in the interiors of Bombay? What would she wear going on a rickshaw, in a metro, in a bus? Will she wear a skirt and blazer for a meeting? Because she's battling weather conditions, she's battling stereotypes, she's battling environment where they're mostly men. What kind of clothing would she wear at, so I work in a labor-intensive environment where they're mostly men. So will I be wearing a skirt and blazer to work? So that was the big question, and that's how we differentiated ourselves. So 50% of our product line is, of course, corporate wear and skirt and blazer, what you've thought, what is brought in from the West. But 50% of our line is very Indianized. So we have the suiti versions of what workwear can be. We have saris like what I'm wearing. Of course, this is for an event. It takes precisely 1 minute to wear this sari because the pleats are pre-stitched. You know, considering a lot of women are now are staying in nuclear families. So you don't have a mother-in-law to help you wear the pleats. So, you know, women have stopped wearing the saris, and that's where we started looking at a certain niche which was existent, but I think nobody was really catering. So, you know, as they say, if your customer wants rotten apples, you give them rotten apples. So we tried to delve into what exactly our consumer wants, and just redefined workwear for Indian women in office and due.
Amazing. Are you wearing a sari with pre-designed pleats? Will you please stand up and walk for us? Just walk up and down without holding it. Show it to them.
You want me to model?
Yes. Isn't that amazing? You just wear it like a pair of trousers. I mean, I think that's amazing. I know that when we did the pre-designed dhoti, where you didn't have to wear a dhoti for men, where you could just put it on like a pair of pajamas, I thought, wow, this is a breakthrough. I think this is a breakthrough. Why aren't you pushing it?
Why am I?
Not pushing it.
No, we just launched about 3 weeks ago. So we're pushing them now, and we'll push them even more with your
There
support.
you are. I think you converted every woman here who ever dreamt of wearing a sari but was challenged because if you step on the damn pleat, the fucking sari comes right off.
Yeah, and you need 2 hours to actually work on the pleats. You need to wake up early to make the pleats. So that's not the case with us. So you can wear pre-pleated saris.
That's have you patented it?
Not yet, but I'm
Hello?
hoping that the next session Prahlad will probably wear a sari because it'll be so easy to
I
wear.
would love to do that because I can get away with it. Okay, now, how would you look at both their businesses in terms of finance and in terms of viability? Okay, he is doing a preset set of fashions. He owns a lot of the brands which are under his umbrella. So he markets them under an umbrella, and there are a whole lot of brands which cater to different parts of them. She's an innovator. So, are you from Delhi, by the way? I thought as much. So, you didn't make the difference of how women in Delhi dress compared to women in Bombay. It's asman zameen ka fark. Okay? Women in Bombay walk with their back straight and with sleeveless clothes and straps. And women in Delhi, you know, I had a competition in my office one day about body language. I took them to Regal Cinema ahead of what you call Kolaba Koche, all the girls and guys. And I said, look down at all the shoppers and identify the people who come from the north and the people who are from Bombay. And they did. And you know why? Because the girls in Delhi at that time, this was about 10 years ago, or 20 years ago almost, were walking with their bags in front of their breasts, with their shoulders heaped and sideways because there was a crowd. And the girls from Bombay were walking choda. And you can make out immediately the difference because there's a huge environmental difference. So you can actually make out people from the north in terms of the way they walk in a crowd and what they dress up like compared to the other thing. So what would you, how would you define
Can I add in here, Prahlad? I'll add a technical point here. So considering I've dealt with a lot of women and their sizes, so I would say 90% of the women in India. So there's a measurement that we take that's a cross front. You know, we take it from the 5 inches down your high shoulder point, cross front, and we take a cross back. In India, cross front for the women is lesser, and the cross back is more. That is,
correct.
We walk like this. We are very oppressed. We walk like this. So an average...
No, basically, you don't want to be either seen or your breasts to be seen or
Yeah,
touched.
yes.
Because that's what everybody in
So
Delhi does.
so an average Indian woman would have a 12.5 inches cross front and 13.5 inches cross back. Reverse to go to UK or US, the
exactly
cross
the opposite.
front is more and the cross back because they are told to walk with the bust out. They are proud to have bigger busts.
Correct.
Unlike in India.
Like it in Bombay.
Also in Bombay, and also, that's where a place for office and due, because all the international brands that you see in the country are making for international women where the sizing reverses. So the cross front is more. So you will always see that you'll have a lot of women here who are wearing international brands. You will always see there'll be an extra fabric here at the armhole because that is made for a UK or a Western women.
Tell me, sir, as a finance man who doesn't believe in 36, 24, 36, because that's why I stopped, you probably done a CA. Have you done a CA?
Yeah.
And did you get through on the first time?
Yeah.
You got through on the first time?
Yeah.
Wow, give him a hand. Because no CA gets through on the first time. So, how would you consider the viability of what both of these ladies and the gentlemen are saying in terms of financing?
Yeah. To understand the viability, actually, my principle is very clear. If any of the company understands the pain of the consumer, that is the foremost thing for which the brand is getting established, right? So that is one thing, that how well you understand the consumer, then only you will be able to bring the innovation and technology, which is the future. The second part is who is influencing whom. That is the another area. In the last decade or 10 years ago, parents used to influence the children a lot. Now the trend is getting changed, right? Now the children are influencing the parents a lot. This is a new trend, you try it, and parents are getting influenced as well. So are we on that track? So any comfort that we are giving to the consumers or to the very young age target audience, the viability and the future for any of the brand or for the products are huge. Sooner or later, that is going to reap benefit out of that, right? These are the two main mantra. Third is definitely whom we are targeting for sure. So the kind of innovation that we are bringing, and in the competitive world like now, people used to spend a very lesser time in doing anything, right? So are we giving that comfort and time saving part, like for an example on the sari part? If I have seen my wife also, so I can correlate with that. So any of the young woman doesn't know how to wear a proper sari, right? And mother used to help them. But and it takes a lot of time sometimes. So if we are saving that particular time and doesn't reflect that whether it is a pre-plate sari or post-plate sari, so definitely people will tend to get on that part. So the viability of the product will be huge, right? Third is the value proposition, what we are giving. So as an Indian brand and as an Indians, we always seek value out of any investment that we do. Whether it is a small investment or a big investment, we always seek the value. So for an example, in our case also, we see that what is the cost per se we are giving to the consumer. Similar way in case of clothing and in case of fashion, what is the best value which we are giving to the consumers at the lowest price that they can offer. So that the people at the age of 18 also, who are only getting the pocket money and not started earning, can actually seek a best benefit out of the lowest investment that they can do. So these are the 4 to 5 pillars where we can think of the brand, how the brand is featured and how the brand is positioned for the future, and can lead and can compete with the old traditional companies who are leading the market right now, right? So,
excellent. When are you starting a fund?
Sorry?
When are you starting a finance fund?
Not yet decided, to be honest. First, let me get my company to the IPO.
No, you're so clear about the funding and the backing financially of brands that have legs and brands that don't have legs. I think you should have a fund.
We'll think over it for sure.
And start marauding the hell out of the people you loan money for, So,
Banya by nature. So,
he's already thinking about the IPOs.
Correct. Now, the last but not the least, the guy who has the whole world by the nuts. I want to ask you a simple question. When Kasab and gang, attacked Bombay, and for 3 days we were at siege, okay, from the Taj to wherever else it is. The one thing that came out was that they were only carrying two things. And one was the AK-47s or the, whatever gun that they were carrying, and ammunition and hand grenades. And the other was nuts. Because they knew that they were on a suicide mission, and they knew that they had to survive for the next 3-4 days or whatever they did. So, and what would they survive on if they didn't have to go out for food? So, did that affect the sale of your nuts?
A very good question, in fact. Nuts has been over, in fact, decades, if you talk about, from the time when we were small, young. Our mother used to give it to us to have it every day morning. Ki 5 badam khao, badam, your brain gets better or you get sharper. It starts from there, basically, And over the period of time, in fact, the kind of nutrition it carries and the best part, it has a longer shelf life than any other product that is available to carry. So giving the example that you quoted actually, they were on a mission primarily for them mission, but for us it was something else. They had to survive for that number of days and they needed that nutrition to carry on that mission. Correct. If you take the gist out of this, they needed that energy to carry on. And believe me, consuming nuts every day can definitely give you that energy. And this is what has happened over the decades across the globe. It is not limited to Kasab or Pakistan or to anybody. It is for every individual sitting in here. If you are consuming nuts, it can give you those kind of nutrition that is required to carry on the energy for the entire day. And in fact, we were sharing that. I was sharing that example with them. Though I should not be saying this, COVID has been the biggest blessing in disguise for us. People have come to know what is the benefit of having a healthy diet now. And when you think of a healthy diet, nuts come in the foremost. And if you talk about the category growing its size post-COVID, it has grown by 40% every year now. Post-COVID I'm talking about. It's not the COVID year. COVID year was abnormal. So important is, I think the mantra that you guys should take.
I think it's become a habit now because
it
after
has become
COVID,
a habit.
Because everybody carries a pocket full of nuts when they go off to office or wherever they're going on.
Yes, in fact, all these brands that we talk about now, including us, we come out with those on-the-go sachets, on-the-go packs, so that you are in a gym, you need some extra energy, you just have 5-7 pistachios and you're good to go.
Why aren't you considering making a dry fruit and nut bar, high concentrate, survival for the Indian Army, for people who are working and people who are on the move all the time because they don't have time to grab a snack, or if they do grab a snack, it's junk food like hamburgers or some rubbish like that, So why aren't you doing a compressed bar and branding it?
So there have been a lot of researches which have been going on, in fact, for different set of people now, as you said, army men or defense personals, sportsmen, children,
correct,
office goers. There have been a lot of researches going on what kind of nutrition they require or what kind of energy per day they require. And a lot of such bars are now available in the market, and we also as a brand have them.
You already have a brand? What is it called?
These are sports bar or energy bar.
No, that's rubbish. You should call it what it actually is.
Basically, these are,
it's an energy bomb.
They are. There are few players in the market who already have in the shape of a bomb now.
Yeah, correct. So, I mean, that's inspired by Kasab and gang.
Yes, it is. Again, it is a habit which you have a bar or you have handful of nuts. It's the same thing.
No, but tell me, Mr. Finance and Mr. Nuts, that if you had to start a nut bar in the competition that you already have, okay, what are the possibilities and the reasons for his success or failure? And why would you back it or not back it financially?
Possibility for the success is definitely the health benefits that we will be offering. So that is one of the most possible scenario. But along with the same time, many a time that happens that we claim a lot, but many a times we fail sometimes when we do the proper study, especially when it comes to the health, right? From the FSSAI norms, food and safety norms, everything. So for that, the quality has to be at the topmost, right? And along for the quality, the pricing will be there. So are the consumers willing to pay those prices on those bar? Because in order to make that bar, there will be additional labor cost that will be there. So whether it is wise to take nuts directly and consume, or whether it is wise to take the nut bar, right? So for me, nut bar would be the most selling product in case of all the gymnasiums and where it is very easy to pull the nut bar, take it as a yoga kind of protein bar and get it. So the chances of failure would be two things only because of the how you market the product and the how you are way ahead of the competition, and second in terms of quality, whether the consumer is liking it or not, in terms of taste and in terms of
your positioning for a nut bar is, you will be amazed what your competition is. Who do you think your competition is, where in the middle of a very strenuous football match or tennis match, the players come off and they drink a bottled water which has got sucrose or glucose or whatever else in it, and they eat something at the same time. That is your competition.
So these bars are quite functional now, you know. They're purely functional. And, you know, again, the composition has to be such. If it is for some sportsmen,
Correct.
they need immediate energy. It may have
Correct.
an extra dates in it and pista than any other.
Precisely. So when in a tennis match, when you see Wimbledon and you see a set change and you see a player eating a banana,
Yes.
and instead of eating a banana which is so imprinted in your head, he's eating a nut bar.
I'll
it
give
will
you an
make
example.
A hell of a
here.
change.
I'll give you, I participate in a lot of marathons, you know. And in Delhi, there used to be bananas, as you said, and glucose biscuits while you were running, you know.
Yeah.
Now what we started doing, we started keeping all those energy bars there. And it
Correct.
started picking up now.
No, but that's your position. That is your position. And you, if you can convince the Indian Army to actually offer it as sea rations up in Siachen, and you provide it free on trial, and say, "Dekho kya hota hai."
Right.
And you'll make a huge marketing bonanza of it.
Absolutely.
So it's absolutely necessary. Now our time is up. So should we break rules and continue, because there's lots to say.
We are good to go.
What do you guys feel? Hello?
We can carry on as much, you know.
Okay. So what is the kind of clothing that you actually succeed in most? Which is the brand which is most popular in your stable of brands?
Two of our brands. One is Highlander, which is very, very popular. And,
What is it? Just
Normally,
describe it
and
to
then which is a men's casual wear brand. And the other brand is Tokyo Talkies, which I was talking about, that women's western wear brand. Highlander, like on an average, we sell almost around 30,000 units a day. So that's the kind of a scale the brand has. So it's
You know, ma'am, you haven't told anybody about your leisure wear. You've told them about your pleated sarees, you told them about formal wear. But what you told me yesterday was that you actually specialize in leisure wear, like beach wear and stuff like that. Now, how do you design for men in leisure wear? What is your criteria?
So Prahlad, I launched menswear in 2004, and I'll just share. So we used to have a store in GK in Delhi, one of the poshest high street. So I used to have 8 racks for women, and I used to have 1 rack for men.
No, but what is the criteria?
There were no men coming to the store.
What is the criteria?
So the criteria was
What is
that the
fashion?
women would feel guilty buying for themselves and then next to the cash counter buy for their husband or their boyfriends.
No, but
so that was the conversion. But having said that,
Design criteria.
So having said that, so we shut that down. Because I think men were at that point, I'm talking 20 years ago, were not evolved enough to have a separate wardrobe for a party and a conference like this
They're still
or
not.
to a lounge.
They're still not evolved enough.
They have slightly evolved because the women, they want the man to up their game to match with themselves. So it's usually the man who has a wife or the man who has a girlfriend who end up dressing up much better, which is why we've relaunched menswear now, and that is slightly partish, but we are still conservative with the colors. We've not gone.
What about comfort? Because men are really, very uncomfortably.
Yeah, so I
clothes.
think they're very particular about the fabric. So the textiles are linen, they're pure cottons. Unlike women, where we do blend with polyester as well, because the style is more important than the comfort when it comes to going to the party. So that's the difference between men and women when we are doing resort wear.
We'll conclude this, which is inconclusive, on the note that we have got everybody to agree on a brand for men, which is neither leisure nor office, but very comfortable. And it's inspired by the original Punjabi kacha, okay, which we never branded. And the Punjabi kacha with the nada, which is the Dhariwal kacha, has now been stolen by the Chinese and called boxers, which is all over the world. I mean, this is our product. We should relaunch the kacha, I feel, anyway. But what we are going to do is one better than the kacha. It's called an underwear for a man who has everything. What does he want? He wants a pair of nut huggers. Okay? Nut huggers is where it counts. His whole life revolves around that area. And if he is comfortable, and believe me, I've researched this. I've researched this with a medical practitioner, a neurologist. And I've said that if your nuts are scrunched and unhappy, what is the state of your mind? They affect your mind directly. If your nuts are happy, then you are a happy person. So remember, ladies, when you offer a birthday present to the guy who you need to make happy, give him a pair of nut huggers, which these guys are going to launch. Okay? They'll be the most comfortable kacha ever designed by a human being. Because there are 4 of them who are going to design it. He's going to fund it. I'm taking 1% of it. Thank you.